Welcome to this deep dive. We're jumping into a bunch of sources today, all focused on a pretty big question.
Yeah.
How do we actually achieve the things we want?
Right. And you've probably heard that saying, haven't you? The secret to success is doing the things you don't want to do.
Exactly. And our sources suggest there's definitely, some truth to that, real power in the idea. But it's also just the beginning, really.
It's just scratching the surface.
Yeah. So today, we want to unpack why tackling those difficult tasks is, well, so important, and maybe why we resist them so much.
And then zoom out a bit.
Right. Zoom out to see the bigger picture. Because success, at least according to this material we looked at, it's way more than just like gritting your teeth and pushing through.
Absolutely.
So our mission here is basically to cut through all the noise, pull out the key insights, and give you a kind of shortcut to being really well informed on this.
Sounds good. So where should we start? That resistance, maybe.
Yeah, let's start there. Why is it so hard sometimes to just do the thing we know we probably should do?
Well, the sources are pretty clear. It's not usually simple laziness. It often comes down to psychological discomfort.
Discomfort. How so?
Tasks can feel just too big, maybe too boring, or there's uncertainty around them. And the research points strongly towards fear.
Fear of what? Failing.
Yeah, fear of failing, maybe looking foolish, or just the discomfort of stretching yourself, getting out of that comfort zone.
That makes a lot of sense. Like trying something hard feels like it threatens our sense of being capable.
Exactly that. It can sort of poke at a fragile self-esteem, so avoidance feels like a defense mechanism.
Okay.
And also, if a task doesn't really connect to something you genuinely care about, if there's what some sources call a meaning deficit, then that urge to put it off is really strong.
Right.
And what the sources show is how avoidance quickly becomes this loop, Task makes you feel bad. Avoiding it gives temporary relief.
Which just makes you more likely to avoid it next time.
Precisely. And the task just looms larger and scarier in your head.
Okay, so if we kind of get why we resist, what do the sources say about the actual payoff for pushing through, besides just, getting the task done?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The sources really highlight that consistently tackling challenges isn't just about the output, the thing you produce. It's about building fundamental capacities.
Okay, like what?
Well, strategically, just doing difficult tasks when your energy is highest, maybe first thing in the morning. For many people, that's just smarter. It helps fight the planning fallacy.
The planning fallacy.
Yeah.
Where we always think things will take less time than they actually do.
Exactly. We wildly underestimate. So getting that early start gives you a buffer. It's smart energy management, not just sheer willpower.
Got it. But you said deeper benefits, too.
Yes. The much deeper benefit, which the research really emphasizes, is personal growth. Pushing your comfort zone fosters, well, grit, perseverance, courage even.
Right.
It helps cultivate a long-term growth mindset. The evidence shows that believing you can develop your abilities makes you way more likely to actually tackle challenges. Failures aren't endpoints.
They become learning opportunities.
Crucial learning opportunities, yeah.
And I think I saw something about a physical impact, too. In the brain.
Yes, absolutely. The sources linked this directly to brain plasticity. Tackling new, difficult things literally strengthens and sort of rewires your brain. It enhances its capacity for future demands.
Wow.
It builds resilience, that ability to bounce back, so that feeling of discomfort. It isn't necessarily a sign to stop. Often it means you're right there in the growth zone.
Okay, so facing discomfort builds capacity. That's a huge piece. What about practical tools? Did the sources offer ways to actually do the hard stuff?
Oh yeah, the material gave us a whole toolkit, really. Simple strategies like eating the frog, doing your hardest task first thing.
Right. Get it out of the way.
Or breaking massive projects down into tiny, manageable steps. That makes it feel less overwhelming. Or using timed focus techniques like the Pomodoro method. Little bursts of work.
And there were mental strategies too, right? Like changing how you frame the task.
Absolutely. Linking it to a bigger purpose helps enormously. Or just using positive self-talk instead of beating yourself up. Plus, behavioral tricks like temptation bundling.
That's that again.
Pairing something you dread, like maybe doing expenses with something you enjoy, like listening to your favorite music only when you do them.
Ever.
And importantly, rewarding yourself for making progress, even small progress.
Okay, so mastering those tough tasks is vital, and there are tools. But, as you said earlier, the sources make it clear that's only one piece of a much bigger success picture. What did they lay out as the sort of full framework.
Yeah, the picture they paint for sustainable success is definitely multifaceted. It really starts with mindset. Cultivating that growth orientation we talked about, building resilience, actively practicing positive thinking.
So believing in the potential, bouncing back, seeing opportunities.
Exactly. Then there's the engine, you could say. Self-discipline, but channeled through strategic habits and guided by clear goals, often SMART goals.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. The sources went into why each part matters, didn't they?
They did. And maintaining momentum, that requires perseverance, sure, but also adaptability, constantly learning as the world shifts around you.
Staying curious, learning from others,
Yeah,
networks maybe.
precisely. It's rarely a solo flight. The sources really emphasize how building supportive networks, finding mentors, that acts like connective tissue. It amplifies everything else.
That makes total sense. But what about some of the common myths, like overnight success? We hear that all the time.
Yeah, the sources are pretty firm on this. Overnight success is, well, largely a myth. It almost always hides years, sometimes decades, of unseen effort.
Right. We just see the final result.
We see the highlight reel, and it's heavily distorted by something called survivorship biases. We focus on the tiny few who seemingly burst onto the scene.
And ignore the thousands who put in similar effort but didn't get that same visible outcome.
Exactly. It gives a totally false picture of how easy it might be.
And success itself.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just about money or status, is it? According to this material.
Critically, no. The sources really stress that defining success based on your own values, things like experiences, relationships, personal growth, maybe contribution that's essential for lasting fulfillment. It's not just grim determination.
It's more nuanced.
Much more nuanced, involving self-awareness, accepting discomfort is part of it, but responding strategically, not just reacting.
Okay, so pulling it all together,
Mm-hmm.
what's the main takeaway from this dive for you?
For me, it's that tackling difficult tasks really is non-negotiable if you want to build discipline and capacity, but it's just one gear in a much bigger machine.
Right.
True, sustainable achievement seems to involve this whole ecosystem. Mindset, smart habits, continuous learning, resilience, strong relationships. Understanding why we avoid helps us pick the right tool to face the task.
And recognizing those myths, like overnight success, keeps expectations realistic.
Definitely. And perhaps the biggest insight is that there isn't one single magic secret. It's a combination of these principles applied in a way that actually works for you.
Right, because success is so personal.
Exactly. Which leads to a good question for you listening. Given that success is so personal and context dependent, what's maybe one small, kind of challenging thing you could choose to do this week that would move you closer to your unique definition of success?